Get ready to get sticky. Hey everybody, welcome back to Sticky Situations. As a reminder, I'm your host Rachel, although I don't know how you could forget that because I'm pretty unforgettable. Please remember to go and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I don't really know where else we're on, that's still a work in progress, but who listens on any other platform anyways? Also, reminder to go and follow Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram, like our page on Facebook, and I'm going to set up a TikTok also. I have a feeling that some of the stories, at least my one story that I want to discuss today, will get a TikTok video, so go follow us on TikTok. I haven't made it yet, but I think it's going to be Sticky Situations Pod. No, it's going to be Sticky Situations Pod on TikTok. So go follow on all the platforms. Instagram is going to be the main one where I keep you all updated on the episodes and any announcements. Also, as another plug, if any of you want to come be my guest on this podcast, always looking for guests, but don't worry, I have a great lineup of people, always constantly adding people to my list. Honestly, you should see me networking. Anytime I meet someone over Shabbat or anywhere, I'm like, oh, you want to come be a guest on my podcast? And you wouldn't believe how many people actually want to come talk to me on the podcast. So stay tuned, everybody, and keep listening. But if you do want to come be a guest on my podcast, you can send me a DM at Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram, or you can email me at stickysituationspod@gmail.com. So, everybody, we are in for a treat today. I mean, we're always in for a treat. So just know when you listen to this podcast, you're getting a treat. So why would you not listen? But today, I am joined by my friend Ella. Ella, say hi to everybody.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. This is so fun. Guys, also, this is such a fun way for me to, hang out with friends. It's they come hang out and record with me, and it's just, a fun experience. So I hope you have fun with this, Ella.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, and I hope all of you are excited, too. So, Ella actually texted me, perfect timing last week. She's like, hey, when are you releasing the podcast? I have so many stories. I want to come record. And I'm like, perfect. We can record it. I mean, she was already on my list. I already, recruited her. I already recruited her. But it was perfect timing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, come record next week. So here we are in my apartment where it's kind of hot in here, but I had to turn the air conditioner off because, I didn't want to ruin the sound quality for you all, but sorry, I'm just giving you guys too much information, but that's who I am as a person, so it's fine. But Ella, welcome to the podcast. We can't wait to dive into your stories, and I have a story I have to tell you that I've been waiting to tell you until we record.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, no, it's actually crazy. I'm kind of scarred, actually, emotionally.
Oh, gosh.
But
I can relate. I've had stories like that myself.
It's okay. Will I be okay? Who knows? Hopefully. But we like to laugh about it now. And you know what? Like I said before, it's all for the podcast. Anything I do nowadays is just for a story for the podcast. I mean, well, if you do go on a date with me and it's good, then okay, fine, I probably won't tell that story on the podcast. But if it's bad, I'm definitely telling that story on the podcast.
The bad dates are so much more entertaining than the good dates.
Yeah, if I had to tell my friends about all my good dates, nobody would care. I wouldn't have this podcast.
It's not juicy.
It's not juicy. Everyone wants the tea, and I'm here to spill it. So, I guess that we can that transitions us into some Ella stories, because I'm excited to hear these just as much as you guys are. So, I guess, it could be your worst date or just bad dates in general. However many stories you want to tell, we're here to listen.
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind was I was 17 years old. So this is going back a few years ago, several years ago. And this was my very first date ever. And the guy was 20. We were set up through mutual friends, I guess. And I was in the city for the date, and he was like, this was in the summertime, and he's like, oh, I'm from Brooklyn, let's go to Brooklyn and walk on the boardwalk. And I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds great. So we go on the subway to go there, and then he was like, oh, I'm gonna stop by my house to get a few things, like, is that okay with you? And I'm like, sure. So we go, and then I, like, meet his whole family. Mind you, this is our first date.
On a first date?
Yeah, my first ever date, mind you. And also,
oh my God.
yeah, okay. And then, like, I was like, hi, okay. And then we left. We went on the boardwalk. We were walking, and then he's like, oh, I told my grandfather we were gonna get lunch. Like, so I got lunch with his grandfather, and it was
How
so
old was
strange.
this guy?
20, and I was 17.
Was this his first date too?
I have no idea.
Because, like,
But-
maybe he just didn't know how to date.
I don't know. He was Russian, and I think, like, some cultures sometimes are, like, very close, like, tight knit, and, like, very into family, as I think, like, Russians are. Like, I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Like, on a first date?
I know, but it, like, really scared me off. So that was kind of, like, I want to say bad, but it was definitely, like, strange, and it really, like, scared me off. And then he, like, texted me afterwards. He's like, oh, like, I had a really nice time. Let's go out again. But the crazy thing is I went out with him again after that. So,
honestly, like, if he was a good guy...
he
like,
actually was really, like, nice. Like, it wasn't, like, a blind date. It was, like, I met him at a party and then, like, through mutual friends again. But, like, it's a little much.
No, it's a lot
yeah.
much. Wait, so how did the second date, like, go well? Did you keep going out with him?
I think I just went out, like, the second time, and then I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work.
Were there family members on the second date?
Not that I remember, no. Just the first date. Maybe, like, he needed his approval.
That's
he
like-
needed their approval, I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like, I'm close to my family, but I wouldn't bring a guy home to meet my parents unless we were, like, for real.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I guess, like, my ex-boyfriend lived with his dad, so I met his dad, like, on our third date. But, like...
But that's because he lived at home.
That's because he lived at... Well, technically his dad lived with him, I think.
Okay.
That's what he told me, anyways.
You never really get the full scoop.
No, I believed him. Or I still believe him. I don't know why he would lie about that. But, yeah, so... I mean, but his dad was just chill. He was like, hi. And, yeah, but we didn't, like, hang out. We didn't, like, hang out with his dad until, like, later, when sometimes we would, like, get takeout and, like, eat dinner with his dad. But, like, that was only, like...
Was that weird?
It was only weird... It was, like, weird the first time, but it was, like, already in, like, months into dating.
Right. So that's different.
Also, it was just weird because, like, there's Riley, and his dad would just speak Hebrew, and, like, I can understand, but, like, at some point, I'm just, like, I'm zoning out.
Yeah. I feel like it's sometimes rude if, like, somebody speaks another language in front of you. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they're talking about you. Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, he would, like, translate. I'm like, I don't really need a translator. Like, I can understand. But they weren't talking about me. I knew they weren't talking about me. But, yeah. No, it kind of, I don't know. I also met his sister. But that was, like, really, like, months into dating.
Uh-huh.
He never met me. He was gonna come meet my family, though, but then we broke up.
Oh,
So,
gosh.
Yeah, but it's fine. This isn't about me. Now, but yeah, no, I think it's weird. I was with another guy once, and we were also dating for a little bit, but not, like, meeting family level yet. And I was with him in, like, his neighborhood where his parents lived, and, like, we made a stop, and he's like, okay, I just need to check the parking lot and make sure none of my siblings or parents' cars are here. I thought that was funny. I was like, do you want me to stay in the car? Because I'm okay staying in the car. I don't really want to meet any family members yet.
I'm glad. Well, at least you had a choice. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, no, that's, like, so weird. And without warning, and...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That guy's probably married now.
Probably.
Probably. Okay. So let's hear more of your stories.
Okay, another story I have is... This was also a few years ago. Have you ever heard of the dating website Saw You at Sinai?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a profile.
Uh-huh.
Although I should not, because what good is it doing me? Like,
It's,
I only get
it kinda
weirdos.
sucks. Yeah.
It kind of sucks.
No
Like,
one's normal on there.
like, I rarely get matches anymore, and when I do, they're weird. So, whatever.
So a few years ago, I am not really into long distance, but I was sent somebody in Dallas, Texas, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just accept him. And we were mutually approved, and we, like, started talking, and he was, like, very, very into me, and he was, like, a little bit too into me too fast. And I was like, okay, and it was, like, maybe 2 weeks in of us talking, And he was like, oh, I'm gonna fly out to come meet you. And I'm like, okay. So he flew out, he met me. It was fine, whatever, nothing like special. I didn't really like see it going anywhere, and then I started to feel bad, like, why did I accept this guy who's in Texas?
You never know.
Yeah, no, I guess so, but anyway, he was like, oh, I want you to come to Texas. So he flew me out to Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, I don't know how long after, like, he flew in to see me. It was maybe, like, a month or so later, 2 months later, he was like, oh, come to Dallas. I'm like, okay. I was, like, 21 at the time. I didn't know any better. So I go, and his mom was, like, I went for a Shabbos, and then I left Sunday, and his mom was, like, grilling me about, like, just asking me, like, all these, like, personal questions, like, trying to get to know me, and, like,
You and the parents.
it was just a lot. What?
You and the
yeah,
parents.
Me and the parents. I don't know what it is about me. But, yeah, I mean, all I can say is, like, it was cool for me to go to Texas. I've never been to Texas before. But, yeah, it was just, he was, like, way too close to his mom. Like, definitely a mama's boy, but, like, in a bad way. And, yeah. So, then I left, and then I broke up with him over the phone, and he was just like, oh, like, no, like, I love you, like, I want to marry you.
Oh my god. That's, like, a lot. A lot.
And then I said to myself, well, this is why I'm ending it, because you're crazy.
Yeah, oh my god. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Also, I totally forgot to ask you what I normally ask my guests at the beginning. Just, like, a general, like, age, location, and relationship status. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in my early 20s. I live in Manhattan, and I am currently single.
Okay, and as you guys also remember, I love to play Shadchan, so if anyone's interested in dating my friend Ella, you can slide into my DMs at Sticky Situations Pod, or email me at stickysituationspod@gmail.com. Or if you want to date me or any of my other guests that I've had on, I'm an aspiring Shadchan, so we'll see how that goes.
It's her side gig.
It's my side gig, yeah. I mean, well, this podcast is already my side gig, but it's my side gig to my side gig. So, yeah. I talked to a guy in Texas once. It was a very strange experience.
Well, I accepted it because I find that out-of-towners are actually nicer, so I was like, oh, let me give it a chance.
We are.
Yeah.
We are much nicer. I mean, no offense. Also, like, let's be real. How many guys from not New York have I actually dated? Not many. Actually,
Yeah.
I could probably count on, like, one hand. Actually, have I dated any? Like, actually dated? I don't really know. I have to, like, go back through my
dates
list.
with people that are, like, out-of-towners, but...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I have a list of guys I've gone on dates with, and there's probably a couple on there. Most of them are not, though. Most of them are from New York and New Jersey, which is interesting. I mean, listen, if you're a nice guy from out of town, like, I'd love to add an out-of-towner onto my list, and maybe...
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Be the last one on my list. Who knows? Or come on my podcast and talk about it. But I talked to a guy in Texas once. I think we met on, like, one of the speed dating things.
Okay.
I did a lot of virtual speed dating
like,
over
back
COVID.
when COVID, when everything was shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of virtual speed dating, and oh god, I met a lot of weirdos on there. Actually, I met some good guys too. I don't even remember. But this guy, okay, so we mutually match, and so he reaches out. I give him my number. We had like one phone call, maybe two. I don't remember. I think it might have just been one phone call and some texting, and then like he like asked for another phone call, and I was like, okay. And then, like, out of the blue, like, a couple days later, he's like, hey, I just, like, don't think this is gonna work out, and all this and that. I'm like, okay. Like, like, making it into some big thing. I was like, we talked on the phone once.
Yeah, like, it's not a big deal.
Like, you're just one on my roster.
Yeah.
So, at least at the time. I'm not really a roster person. Only, like, during COVID, when I had nothing else to do but text random boys, they had a texting roster. Which...
I could totally relate.
Yeah, like, oh gosh, a lot of those were weird too. I'll get to those eventually, so keep listening to the podcast. But, okay, let's hear more.
So, another, I guess, bad dating story that I have is, this was a J-Swipe date during the COVID lockdown when, like, you couldn't do anything. Like, indoor dining was closed, shows, everything was closed, so the only thing that we could think of was to go ice skating in Bryant Park. I was like, okay, that's a good idea. So we went. He picked me up, which was nice. And I just didn't really feel it. I didn't think he was for me. And it was like toward the end of the night, and then we're walking to his car, and his car wasn't there.
Oh my god.
And we're like, oh my god. Meanwhile, it's freezing. It's like in the middle of winter in like December, and we couldn't find his car, and his car got towed. Ooh. And this is a first date, and I'm like, am I gonna be stuck with this guy? Like, is he gonna have to stay by me? Like, what is gonna happen?
Oh my god.
So, yeah. So I felt really bad, and I wanted to get rid of him, so I just, like, called him an Uber.
Oh my god.
To go up.
Wait, what did he do? You went home, and then he went to get his car?
Well, like, it was kind of late. It was, like, 9 o'clock at night or so. So, like, the towing company, like, wasn't open, so he had to obviously wait till the next morning. I'm guessing is what happened. But I didn't want to be, like, a jerk and, like, break up with him, like, that night or the next day, because he just had his car towed.
Oh, yeah.
So I waited for him to say, like, oh, yeah, I went this morning and I, like, got my car back. And then I ended it. He probably was so embarrassed that he, like, parked in a spot that wasn't legal.
Oh, my God. Also, over COVID, I went out with this guy who picked me up, and he got hit while I was in the car with him.
What?
Yeah. It wasn't like
you got into a car accident while he was
driving?
driving?
It wasn't anything crazy, and it was like the person was like hit and run. Like it they just hit the back. They rear-ended him.
Okay.
Like,
was there damage in the car?
I think it was dented a little.
Oh my god.
He was
upset.
upset.
The first date?
I think it was either I only went on 2 dates with him, so I don't remember if it was a first date or a second date.
Did he get very angry? Like I feel like you could tell. Like
yeah, he was so cute because I could tell he was like really upset but trying to hide it. I'm like, yeah, it's okay, and I just like stayed quiet because I just like didn't want to say anything, and I'm like, he was a good guy too. He didn't have his life together, and he was younger than me, and I'm like,
I never date guys younger than me. Maybe like a year younger, but never like 2-3 years.
No, I honestly think he was only a year younger than me.
Oh, okay, fine.
He just, like, didn't have his life together, and I'm like, what is wrong with you men?
Yeah.
But listen, I dated a guy also, I dated another guy after that. I think the guy I dated right after that was older than me, and he also didn't have his life together.
Yeah, I've learned it's not about age. It's matters of, like, where they are in life. Like, a 29-year-old could be much less mature than a 25-year-old, so.
Yeah, no, I know guys who are like 30 around here who like don't have it together. I'm like, bro, get it together.
And they're still acting like they live in a fraternity house.
Yeah, I'm like, you are not 22 years old. Like, go start a family.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, at what point, like, do they, like, want meaning in their life? Like, to stop, like, going to parties and, like, going on trips together with guys? Like, you know? Like, I feel like, when does that end?
I don't know. I guess when they find the right girl, but I feel like it's not like, oh, they have to find the right girl. I feel like they have to decide that they want to, like, be a real person.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like the guys who we know who live around here are just, like, in this, I do know some good guys. So, not all guys that I know, because I do know some really good guys who are, like, actually serious.
Yeah, for
sure. But, like, a lot of guys
very few and far between.
Very few and far between. I'm always looking for girls to set them up with. But every other guy that I know is just, like, messing around.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You are in your 30s. Like, there are guys around here that are in their 30s, and, like, just, I see them at every party. And, like, obviously I go to the parties because, like, what else am I doing? But, but, I mean, like, if I had, when I was dating someone and he wanted to hang out on a Saturday night, like, I would rather hang out with him than go to a party.
For sure, for sure.
Like, I would rather be with a significant other than go to a party. But, like,
because that has meaning. Like, how many times can you go to a party in the city?
Yeah, no, but, like, if I'm not dating anyone, well, number one, I'm not going to give up my Saturday night for a first date because I feel like Saturday night's a bad vibe for a first date. First dates are during the week.
Yeah.
Maybe Sunday night. But, like, during the week. But I don't know. I guess, other than that, like, I have nothing else to do, so I'll hang out with my friends at a party.
I will say, though, about the Saturday night date thing, if a guy does keep seeing you on a Saturday night, that's pretty serious. Because a Saturday night is, like, a classic, like, date night. So, if he's giving you his Saturday night,
Yeah, that means he's serious.
Yeah.
I just, also in this date, which is actually really funny because I went on my first date with my ex on a Saturday night.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't think I saw him. I don't think we went out on Saturday night after that because also we dated like through the summer and like Shabbat ends so late. But I've been on dates on Saturday nights. I just like don't love it. I also don't love the rush. Like the rush of Shabbat ending and then I have to like look cute and go out.
Yeah.
Like it's different like throwing on like clothes and going to a party or going and like watching a movie with friends than like going on a date.
But Saturday nights in the winter aren't bad.
That's
like
true.
Shabbos ends at like 5:30 or so.
That's true. It's just cold and I don't want to leave.
Yeah, I hibernate. I can't stand the cold.
Yeah.
And I lived in New York my whole life and like I'm so not used to it. But you're from Ohio, so you understand.
Yeah. No, I mean it's also cold there, but I also just it's cold.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're right. I just don't want to give my Saturday night for a first date because like in my experience, first dates are usually not great. So I mean, unless they are like. I've had
oh my
good
gosh,
first
you just
dates.
reminded me of another bad story.
Oh my god, let's hear it.
Yeah, so this was also a J-Swipe date, and it was a Saturday night, because I was stupid. And we, like, one thing I've learned, and I think is really good advice, is talk to the guy you're going out with before you go out with him. Because so you may not even go out with him. Like, that's a good way to weed them out. Because
I agree.
What happened to me was I didn't talk to him, and I went on a date with him. We went out to a bar, which was whatever, fine. I'm not really a drinker, but, like, it's fine. And he was, like, in his later 20s, and he just, I'm just talking to him, and it comes out that he's divorced with a child. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And
no. And
I was so mad. Like, first of all, I was, like, 5 years younger than him, and I feel like he should have told me, like, hey, by the way, I'm divorced, also have a child that's 4. Like...
Yeah. Listen, it's okay. It's okay to be divorced and in the dating world.
100%.
But like,
it's not okay to not tell me.
Yeah, no, that's like, especially the kid. If you're just divorced without a kid, like maybe telling on the date is okay. But like, if you have a kid, you gotta have that like upfront information.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with being divorced. Like, no, it's pretty common. Like, you grow from it. It doesn't mean it's your fault. Like, I feel like there's such a stigma. With, like, someone being divorced, that's not a big deal. But I did not appreciate that being my Saturday night.
I dated a guy who was divorced, and, like, it totally, like, wasn't an issue. I mean, he also didn't have kids. But, like, he was very, like, I knew from the beginning, from when we started talking, that he was divorced.
Yeah.
Pretty early on, he, like, talked to me about it, like, let me ask any questions. And anytime,
that's actually really nice of him.
Yeah, anytime later he did, too. No, he was, like, very upfront, and I'm like... Because you're so upfront about this, I know you're not hiding anything.
Yeah.
Like, when you hide that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, so what are the reasons you got divorced? Like, why are you hiding this from me? Like, I don't know. Like, I've had friends who also went out with divorced guys who are, like, bad news.
Yeah.
And, like, no, this guy was just, like, very, very upfront. And, like, I appreciated it. And, like, it was a non-issue.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it takes two to tango, so... If someone gets divorced, it doesn't mean that it's totally their fault or totally their ex-spouse's fault. It's just like
sometimes
it didn't work.
Yeah, especially like in our communities, people get married young.
Yeah.
And like it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But there are also situations of like crazy people and abusive people, and like you don't want to end up in a situation like that. And like it's a red flag when people hide it.
For sure.
So also like you have nothing to gain by keeping it a secret because the person will either freak out. Also, like, if you are upfront about it, you're weeding out anyone who does have an issue with it.
Yeah. But I also think why people kind of hide it is, like, they want the person to, like them first before they tell them that. Yeah. Because they're afraid, like, if they say, hey, by the way, I'm just letting you know I'm divorced, then they're afraid, like, the person's not even going to give them a chance or talk to them. Versus if you tell them, like, a month or so in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's also different if you meet in an organic way.
Right.
Versus, like, a dating app.
On, like, J-Swipe,
or, like, some sort of matchmaker or something. Like, if you're dating on a platform like that, be upfront. If you meet in person, it's okay. Like, get to know each other, like, obviously. But I don't know. I still say, like, be upfront.
Yeah.
I just don't like things that are hidden.
Well,
like,
it's a Scorpio thing.
It's a Scorpio thing.
Yeah, we're both Scorpios.
Yeah.
You have to tell them.
Trust is a big thing. We trust
Once
no
you
one.
break it, that's it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I'm gonna
it.
second guess everything you say.
Yeah, so just tell me the truth from the beginning. Also, I don't know if it's all Scorpios or just me. Like, I always find out the truth.
Oh my god,
like,
me too.
And it, like, not even on purpose. Like, even like by accident sometimes. Like, I
How
don't
does
go.
that even happen?
I don't go digging around for things. Like, people will just mention something to me, or I'll happen upon something, and I'm like, oh. And like, then I find out the truth, and I know that you lied to me, and I'm like, so it's just better to not lie.
Yeah.
I don't lie. I'm like one of the most honest people I know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, you should just like be upfront about that. And also a kid. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot spring that on someone.
Yeah.
Maybe like telling you're divorced on like the date or something, but not a kid. Because a kid is like, I don't know. At this point in my life, I'm not, I try. I didn't try.
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
you went out with someone that had a kid?
oh no. But I talked to a couple guys with kids.
Oh my gosh.
And
They
then-
didn't tell you, or they did tell you?
No, they did. It was like,
Like, when you swiped, did you know they had a kid?
yeah, I was like, okay, let's try this. Let's see what's going on.
Oh my gosh.
And then I talked on the phone with one, and literally all he talked about was his kid. And I'm like, no, I am not ready to be a stepmom. This is not going to work out. So, also, like, I just wasn't into him from the phone call, so we didn't even go out. But it was fine. Because, I don't know, I said I would reassess when I turned 30 if I'll date guys with kids.
No, never settle. Don't ever settle.
It's not even a settling thing, but, like, I feel like at a certain age I would be okay with dating a guy with kids. I think, like, I already know I'm okay. I also, like, a few years ago said I would never date a guy who's divorced, but, like, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I did, but, like, and it was fine. So I'll assess, like, when I'm going to reassess a lot of things about my life when I turn 30, but I still got some time. Like, a bunch of time. But, yeah, I'm not ready to be a stepmom. So.
I think, like, if it's somebody's first marriage and I think it's one thing if, like, both people have kids, then, and they marry somebody who has kids, like, that makes sense. But, like, if you've never been married before, to, like, marry someone that has kids already, like, that's just a lot to take on.
Yeah. So, you should definitely be upfront about that.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are willing to sign up for that. Like, just because it's not our personal preference doesn't mean people aren't willing to do that. But, like, you have to be upfront with it to, like, find the people who are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when I'm 30. I mean, if I met, like, the most amazing guy and, like, we hit it off somewhere, like, and then I found out he had a kid, actually, no, I would say no. Unless it was literally love at first sight, which I don't believe in anyways. But
I don't believe in it either.
Yeah.
I'm like very much like, I need you to prove to me.
I'm very suspicious. It's a Scorpio thing.
Yes.
I'm very
so
suspicious.
suspicious of
I'm like,
everything.
I'm like, prove your worth.
Prove
like,
your worth to me, yeah.
Like, why should I
You need to
do
meet
my
like
time?
certain benchmarks in order for me to like think
exactly.
your potential.
Exactly. Oh my god, I made a dating survey.
Oh my gosh.
And I forgot that I put it, like, I was just bored one day, and I'm like, I'm tired of guys wasting my time. So I made a whole survey, and I put it, oh my god, I should put it on the Instagram or the Facebook. Whoever can fill it out if they want to date me. But it literally is just asking, like, religiosity levels, and then, like, what, like, situational things, like, oh, you match with me on a dating app. What are your next steps? And it's multiple choice.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, like, prove to me that you will not waste my time. And, like, you'll meet my standards. Which, I talked about this before. I don't think my standards are that crazy. But, like, I just want to be treated a certain way, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, that's not asking for a lot. And if somebody thinks you're asking for a lot, like, bye.
Yeah.
Say bye.
Yeah, exactly. So, I made a dating survey, and I literally forgot about it. I just put it on my, like, dating app profiles, and some guy messaged me on JSwipe. He's like, hey, I couldn't open the link for your thing, but, like, you can send it to me here if you want. And I'm like, oh my god, I forgot about it.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, it's okay, it's mostly a joke. I mean, it's not. Like, it is, but it's not. But I don't know. Because I feel like all these guys are just wasting my time.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I have a story that happened. It actually happened now a couple weeks ago, but I've just been emotionally scarred. But I haven't told it to Ella yet, so she'll get to share it on podcast. It's literally...
I need a drink.
It's legitimately psycho. Like,
where did you meet this guy?
Actually psycho. So I didn't actually go out with him. Thank
God. You didn't go out with him?
No, thank God.
Oh,
thank
you
God,
made it seem like you did.
No, thank God. Like, thank you, God, for protecting me and me finding everything out before I went out with him. But, okay. So I matched with this guy on JSwipe. Fine. As you guys know, like, if I'm single, like, I'm just swiping, talking, whatever. I'm bored. But, so I was swiping and I was talking to him because I was bored. And I like attention. And that's my life.
I love attention.
I love attention.
But you know what? Just like a side note before you go into your bad story, which I'm like so sorry this happened to you, but I'm dying to know it. It's always like the guys that give you attention that you don't want to give you attention.
I know.
And the ones that you want to give you attention don't give you attention. It sucks.
I know. It's the worst. And I'm like, literally, when I have a texting roster, which is only like a couple, it's like the one guy who I want to be texting me will text me like twice a day. And the guy who I just feel meh about will like text me, like answer me right away. And I'm like, dude, I need to work. Like, I don't have time for this.
Like, you'll take hours to respond, and then like as soon as you respond,
like while I'm in the middle of responding, he'll like text me back, and I'm like, can you wait, please?
Yeah.
And then the one guy who I want to text me just won't. But I mean, sometimes it happens that like, no, I feel like that's only in a healthy situation where it's like a mutual, like, oh, he's giving me attention and I like it and I'm answering and it's like a good cadence with it. But like, that's not like the boredom texting roster. That's like actual dating. Which I'm capable of. I'm capable of having healthy situations, but also like sometimes I'm just bored and like attention. So this was one of those instances. I don't even remember what happened. But I swiped, whatever, we matched. We were talking for like a day or so on JSwipe, and he's like, I think he asked if we could have a phone call at some point, and I'm like, okay, but not now. Like, I'm at work and I'm busy. Also, just letting all of you know, I was just telling Ella earlier before we started recording, my schedule has been booked solid literally every day for the last like month or so, and so, like, when do I have time to talk to this dude on the phone? Like, he wanted to talk. I wasn't going to tell him that I had a date that night. Or maybe it was the next night. Or I had plans with friends. I had a date. I had events. I just had stuff going on. So, I didn't have time to talk. I didn't tell him that I had a date. But I told him, like...
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
No, I did not. I told him I had plans with friends and events and things like that. So, whatever. He's like, okay, but can I have your number and can we switch to text? And, like, over JSwipe, he was fine. He was kind of attentive, which I always see as a red flag. But also, I like attention, but too much attention, too fast.
Too fast, yeah. If it's, like, early on and there's too much attention, it's very, very weird.
Yeah, it's like...
It's such a turn off.
You don't know me yet. Like, once you go on a date with me and decide you're obsessed with me, that's fine. But, like...
but before...
But before, like, okay, you don't know that you're obsessed with me yet, so... Don't be obsessed with me yet because it's just crazy.
Were his pictures normal? Like, everything looked normal?
Yeah, he looked fine.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I'm a bad judge. I should not be allowed to have dating apps. And, like, I don't think I've mentioned it on this podcast, but I just got myself into bad situations before. But also, like, then I'm like, oh, yeah, I met my ex-boyfriend on a dating app. I had another relationship from a dating app. I, like, met some other good guys on dating apps that didn't work out. But, like... At the same time, I also get myself into situations like this. So, we were only messaging for a couple of days. And he asked for my number, so I gave him my number, and we're texting. And I gave him my number, and then he tried calling me. I'm like, bro, it is 2 p.m. I'm in my office. I am not answering my phone.
What did he do that he was able to, like, call you like that?
No, I gave him my number.
No, I'm saying, like, what did he do for a living?
Oh, I don't even know.
You don't even know?
I don't even know.
Oh,
I think we talked about it, and, like, I don't remember. He gave me some, like, weird job description. I honestly don't remember. But, so I think he was just calling to, like, give me his number, and I'm like, don't call me. Send me a text. Like, I do not want to be called in the middle of the day. I don't want to be called ever. Well, no, if we're dating, I like being called. But, like, I like a heads up. But, okay, so he calls me and I'm like, yeah, I'm at work. Don't call me. Text me. I didn't answer the phone, but I sent him that message. So he texted me, and we were texting a couple days, and, like, he wanted to have a phone call, and I'm like, no, this was all on the same day. And I'm like, I don't have time for a phone call. This was on a Wednesday. I think we had matched on, like, Monday or Tuesday. Wednesday, I gave him my number, and I'm like, no, I have stuff going on. I had a date that night, but I didn't tell him that. I'm like, maybe tomorrow. Like, I have to see. I have some other plans, so probably not, but, like, I'll see. So, we were just texting, and I don't know, he, like, said some things that were a little off, but I was like, whatever. He was like, into MMA fighting, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I find it really attractive that you're so little. Because I'm 5'2". He's like, I feel like I can, like, protect you. And,
how tall was he?
I don't remember.
Say? Oh.
Yeah, maybe like 5.
That's kind of weird.
I don't think he was that tall, but I also don't really remember. I kind of blocked it a little bit out. But I'm like, okay, sure. Like, but also at the same time, like, he's just, like, a bigger dude. Like, not, like, huge, like, but he, like, works out and I don't even know. And he does fighting, and he was, like, saying he could protect me and all this. I'm like, cool. And then, like, he would say weird things like that. Like, I also talked about how I love my Peloton, which I do. And he's like, oh, yeah, he would talk about working out. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about working out. Also, he, like, asked me one day, instead of being like, oh, how's your day going? He's like, what did you eat for lunch? I'm like, why are we talking about my eating habits? Like,
yeah, like, that's only really what you talk about, like, in a long-term relationship, I feel like.
I don't think my ex-boyfriend and I ever discussed what I had for lunch.
Yeah.
Like, we only talked about food when one of us was cooking, or, like, when we went out to dinner together. like, no. But, so, he asked me that, I'm like, it's weird. And then he would send me pictures of what he was making. He was, like, grilling steak in the middle of the day. I'm like, do you not have a job?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And, okay. So, also, I was talking about my Peloton, and he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, it's really good cardio. He's like, I'm not gonna lie, like, if we're in a like, if we get together, like, I'm definitely gonna use your Peloton while you're out or while you're sleeping. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, who says you're allowed in my apartment?
Yeah,
but, like,
inviting himself over.
Yeah, he's like, well, if we actually start dating, or if we were in a relationship, and I'm like, whoa, thinking way too far ahead.
Yeah,
way
at a time, please.
Yeah. So I was just like, whatever. Also, just remember that I'm bored and I like attention. And this is why I continue the conversation. And it gets me into bad situations. So, anyway, the conversation goes on. And he's just telling me about stuff and, like, his life and nothing inappropriate. He was just giving me a lot of information. Like, he would go into detail about his workouts, or, like, what he was cooking, or his family dynamics. He was like, oh yeah, I made lunch. I'm having lunch with my grandma today, and all of this, and family background, and this and that. And then, so now we're into Thursday, and I am working. I'm busy at work, and I'm already having a really bad day. Like, you know, when you just wake up, and it's just not, you just know, this is not my day. Well, that was that Thursday. I was just, like, in a mood because I had a bad date the night before, which I already told you guys about. It wasn't even that bad. It was just, like, ugh. And I'm just like, ugh, I'm just over it. So I was just, like, in a funk. And he's texting me, and I'm like, I am not in the mood. So he's texting me, and he's, like, telling me something about his family background and history and all of this, and sending me, like, paragraphs. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever. So I was like, and my responses were, oh, that's so cool, or whatever. So this specific text, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Because he was telling me about, like, his family background and, like, where he comes from and all of this. I'm like, cool, that's very interesting. And he goes, what are your thoughts and feelings on it? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I just told you my thoughts and feelings. My thoughts and feelings are, this is really interesting. I have no other thoughts and feelings.
Oh my God, like a therapist. Like, what are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about that?
No, like, worse than a therapist. Well, I mean, maybe some therapists, I don't know. But he was like, what are your thoughts and feelings on this? I'm like, I have no feelings on this. My thoughts are, oh, this is interesting. So I was like, okay, I'm just, like, tired. So I'm like, I'm just gonna be honest with him. And I'm like, listen, I think it's really interesting, but I'm just, like, not in a good headspace right now I have a really busy day. I have a lot going on. I'm just not in a headspace to process so much information. So I have no feelings on it. I told you my thoughts. It's interesting. There's nothing to make feelings about. Like, there's nothing to give me feelings. Like, so I was like, you're just giving me a lot of information. Like, I don't mean this, like, to be rude, or, like, I'm not trying to offend you or upset you. but, like, it's just a lot of information, and I have a lot going on today in my life. Like, I just have a lot going on today, and I can't emotionally process it. And that set him off.
Holy cow.
He, like, so this is why I'm going to make a TikTok. So I'm going to put the screen recording on TikTok. I already, like, recorded it, and it's 4 minutes long, so it's going to be more than one TikTok. But he went off on me, and he's like, you're never going to meet anyone better than me.
What?
And I was like, I'm not saying this to offend you. And he was like, I don't even remember what everything he said. I kind of emotionally blocked it out.
Yeah.
But it was just not what I needed that day. So he kept going off on me. He's like, you're never gonna meet anyone as great as me, as cool, as like good looking and whatever. And I'm like, oh my God. And I guess I did respond. I should have just blocked him right then and there.
Yeah.
But I kept going and he kept going. So he keeps going on and on and on. And I'm like, I don't mean to. I'm not saying this to try to offend you. And then he's like, when we meet in person, I'm going to put, he's like, oh, well, wait. So then he's like, you couldn't even make time for a phone call. I'm like, dude, we've been talking for 2 days.
Whoa.
I just don't have time. You're not on my priority. He's like, well, we match, so we have a romantic connection. And I'm like, no, we match, so, like, we're talking. We have no romantic connection until, like, we meet in person, and there is a romantic connection, or there isn't. And he keeps saying that. I'm like, oh, my God, just because I match with you doesn't mean I have to marry you. Like,
sure.
I'd be married 100 times, like, millions of times by now. Are you kidding me? Like, I J-swipe for fun when I'm bored. Like, it's a game. But so he keeps going on, and he's like, when I meet you in person, I'm going to put you in your place. And I'm like, oh, my God, are you threatening me?
Oh, my God.
And, like, then I started getting scared. And he kept saying it. I'm like, you're threatening me. I'm like, I'm taking screenshots. Like, I'm going to send it to the police if I need to. Like, and he's like, I'm very influential, and I know I'm going to tell all the Jews in Manhattan not to date you. And he compared me to Amber Heard, and he's like...
Did he know your last name that he could, like...
I don't know. So,
yeah.
I'll get to that in a second. He compared me to Amber Heard. He said, like, he said I was, like, emotionally disturbed and I needed help. And I'm like, and he's, like, texting at a mile a minute. Like, I could barely read what he wrote before he sent another message. And he's sending me paragraphs. And he's like, I'm going to make a PowerPoint presentation and tell all the Jews in New York why not to date you and you'll never get another date again. And I'm like, so you're threatening me? And he's like, oh, no, but I wish you the best. I wish you the best. I'm like, clearly you don't wish me the best. So he kept alternating between wishing me the best and telling all the Jews in New York not to date me. And so finally I just blocked his number. And then he had, like, a very identifiable, like, Jewish name. So I was able to search him on social media and find him pretty easily.
Without you just searched his first name?
I just searched his first name. And I blocked him on Facebook and Instagram. I gotta remember to block him on the podcast Instagram.
Oh my God.
Before I release this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I have no idea if he knows my last name because my first name is Rachel. So he can't really do that with my name like I could with his. Like, it's very hard. I've tried doing it with, like, common, like, guy names, like, who I've gone out with in the past. Like, if I meet a guy named, like, Josh or David or
like
Sam or Daniel or, like, those people, if I, like, match with a guy like that on J-Swipe, like, I'm never finding him on Facebook. Unless we literally know that we have mutual friends, I'm never finding him on J-Swipe or on Facebook. So, but this guy I found, and I'm like, well, if he's really that psycho, I was honestly scared. So I was like, he knows I live, what neighborhood I live in. He doesn't know, like, what numbers. And I'm like, the neighborhood's a big neighborhood. So it would be very hard for him to find me. But also, like, if he's a psycho, it's not impossible because psychos be psycho. But also, then I was freaking out that he somehow found my last name, which he could have done a reverse Google image search of my J-Swipe profile and found my Facebook from there and then found my last name. My phone number isn't associated to my Facebook, but he could have done that, and then he could have found my LinkedIn and then found where I work.
So scary.
And I was just like, wait, what if he, like, tries to stalk me at work? Like, I'm really scared. Like, I told my doorman, I'm like, don't let any men up to my apartment.
You told your doorman?
Yeah, I told my doorman, I'm like, if any guy comes here, like, don't let him up. And I, like, went to a friend's later that night, and I had my roommate track my location on the way there, and then I had my friend track my location on the way home. I think I did another day of, like, location tracking, too. I'm like, this is scary. Like, I'm kind of scared for my own life. Like, what's this guy gonna do to me? I mean, he's just crazy. But I was actually scared, and I took screenshots of the conversation, and I posted it onto my close friends' Instagram story. Like, I wasn't gonna advertise it to all my Instagram followers, but I posted on my close friends' story, and all of my friends reached out to me. They're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." And then my roommate came home, and I showed her. She read the whole, like, thread, and she found him, and she was, like, searching back his social media, and she's like, "Yeah, he has a lot of gun posts about guns."
Oh my gosh.
And
does he have a criminal record? Did you find a criminal record?
No, I didn't deep dive that far.
Oh, okay.
But then she's like, "Oh yeah, he also posts about toxic women and, like, how the whole Will Smith slap incident was all Jada's fault." And I'm like, okay, I don't need someone who, like, says, "Oh, we need to get rid of toxic women from our lives." Like, no, I'm not a toxic woman. I'm actually pretty, like, emotionally healthy. I mean, aside from the fact that I get bored and like attention from random guys on dating apps, but, like, no, I'm fine. We all need to work on ourselves, but, like, I'm okay. Like, you're the one who needs help. But yeah, so I was like shook. I'm like, oh my god. If I hadn't already been, like, in such a funk that day, I probably would have, like, cried my eyes out, because I'm like, oh my god, this is actually really scary. But I was just, like, so emotionally numb at that point. I'm like, I'm shook, but, like, also, this is my life. What else do I do? So yeah, so then I was like, yeah, so I'm taking a break. I mean, which I didn't really do, because I still went on the dating apps. But it's fine, everybody. I haven't gone out. I told myself, I'm like, I need, like, a 2-week break from actually going on dates.
You need to, like, recover.
I just need to recover. I'm like, I had, like, a bad date, and then this, and I'm like, guys are crazy, and I just am not into that. So, yeah. So, yeah, now it was scary, and, like, now I keep my pepper spray on my keys, and for a while I was carrying my taser everywhere, but...
Oh my gosh, I should get one.
Yeah, no, you should. I recommend it for all women. They're kind of illegal in New York, but, like, who cares? Protect yourself. So, but it was just fun, and then it became a joke, because obviously, like, once you have trauma like that, it wasn't, like, real trauma, and, like, hopefully this guy doesn't actually find me. And you know what? If he's listening to this podcast, go to therapy. Get a therapist. You would benefit greatly. Like, go to therapy.
You tell him.
Go to therapy. Actually, I think all men need to go to therapy, but, like...
There's such a stigma with it, but that's for another time.
No, like, get it... We're in the Gen Z era right now. Everyone has a therapist. So, men, go to therapy. But, yes, this guy really needs therapy. But anyway, so it became a joke amongst, like, my close friends, because they saw the thing. So one of my friends was like, I'm gonna make a PowerPoint presentation of why nobody should date you, because that's what the guy threatened. So today it was just funny, because randomly, because I knew I was gonna, like, tell this story when we recorded tonight. So randomly today I get a text from my friend, and he's like, "What's your email?" And I'm like, I gave it to him, and I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "There's something you need to see." And I'm like, oh my god. And I'm like, gosh. I was scared. And then I open it, and it's like, reasons not to date Rachel. And it was actually really sweet. He gave, like, a long list of, or he gave, like, 10, I'll read it real quick, because it was funny. It's short. Okay, so it's the top 10 reasons to not date Rachel for all the Jews in Manhattan. And it's, she is pretty, she is funny, she is awesome, she is ambitious, she is caring, she is friendly, she is honest, she is smart, she is kind, she is very Rachel. Which I thought was very sweet.
That is very sweet.
Yeah. And then the next slide is, but actually don't date her. Some random guy from an app that thinks he's the best person ever thinks she's crazy since she rejected him. All of us Jews in Manhattan should listen to him. I'll put the PowerPoint also on the TikTok, because it was just funny. It made me laugh.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, and it was sweet that he did that. So, and don't ask why I don't date him. There are reasons. Let's just say I'm not his preference. So, I'm gonna re-record that. Also, like, he's just a friend, platonic friend. So yeah, we won't get into that, nothing more. But he's a very good friend, and he knows who he is, and he's listening. So thank you. You are appreciated. But okay. So we are going to wrap up this episode, even though I know you guys want all the tea. Oh, wait. So we talked about all the bad stories. Ella, do you have any good stories that you want to share?
My only good date stories were in the context of a relationship, so if that's cool with you, I'm, like, not really gonna share that.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Relationship stories are boring.
I mean, yeah, it was just, like, it was, like, sweet, obviously. Like, you'd pick me up, we would go out to dinner, maybe, like, a show sometimes, and you would, like, take me back. Like, that was it. But
yeah, mine are mostly like that, too.
Still really good, but, yeah.
Yeah, the good is usually boring. So, okay, so now I think we gave a lot of advice during the episode, but I always like to ask my guests if they have advice for my listeners. So, Ella, do you have any dating advice for our listeners?
For sure. I would say my number one tip is don't force anything. I think a lot of people, especially, like, as people get older, they think, oh, like, I met this really great guy, I have to make it work, like, and, you know, sometimes, like, you just can't force it, like, even though they may be an amazing person, and you may be an amazing person, like, you may not have a connection, you may not want the same things, so just, like, see where it goes, and don't try to force connection, don't try to mold yourself to be someone that you think they want, just go with the flow and, like, see what happens. That's what I think. Yeah.
It's good advice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Also, advice for men. Go to therapy.
Just to men.
Just to men. I mean, women could benefit from it too, but, like, men, go to therapy. Also, grow up.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, go start a family. Stop messing around. Okay, sorry. Okay, so as you know, I like to ask just like a fun get to know me thing with my guests, and incorporating my favorite topic of life aside from dating, which is reality TV. So, you know, I love reality TV because I told you that. So I like to ask my guests what their Real Housewives tagline would be. Just a reminder for you guys, my Real Housewives tagline is reality TV is my true calling, but until I get there, I have this podcast.
I love that.
Thanks. I'm an aspiring Real Housewife, but I need a man first. But also, like, not all of them have husbands, which is fine. I need to get there. So if anyone has any connections at Bravo, like, I'd be a great housewife. I'm not rich yet, though. So maybe I need to marry rich. I don't know. We'll see. It's a work in progress. We'll see what happens. Maybe this podcast will make it big. Who knows? But anyway, Ella, what is your Real Housewives tagline?
Okay, so my tagline is, I'm not high maintenance, you just have low standards.
I like it a lot. And it's true.
Like, I just refuse to tolerate being treated poorly, you know? Like, I want to be treated like a queen.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and it's, like, sad, because I feel like women feel like they have to lower their standards, or they think that they're asking for too much. Like, you're not asking for too much for, like, time or attention. Like, you may be asking a lot if, like, they have student loans and you want them to get you a Gucci pocketbook, but, like, yeah.
But I also think, and we've talked about money on previous episodes, like, it doesn't cost anything to treat someone well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking to be spoiled rotten. I mean, it was nice to be spoiled rotten, but, like, I'm not necessarily asking for that. I just want someone, like, who's kind and respects me and I can see goes out of their way.
Yeah, and doesn't do it begrudgingly, or like or act like they're doing you a favor when they do it. You know?
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything to be a gentleman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's actually a good one.
Thank you.
I like it, and it fits into what we've been talking about. I think I talked about it on a previous episode. Standards. Listen, ladies, don't settle. I mean, men don't settle too, but also, like, men do better. Not all men. Have to remind all of you, I'm not targeting every man, just the bad ones, and even the bad ones can become better. That's why you're listening. We're giving you insight.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much to Ella for coming onto the podcast.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. I'm so honored to be here.
I hope you had as much fun as I did.
Oh my gosh,
and
I did.
Our listeners are going to have listening. So I'll just remind you guys of my dating rules before we go. Remember, if he likes you, you'll know. If he doesn't, you'll be confused. If he wants to, he will. Only reciprocate and don't chase. I'm pretty sure I added that one last time. Don't chase. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.
Bye.